Hello and welcome to Every Horror Movie on Netflix. I'm glad you're back. We're all here ready to talk about every horror movie on Netflix. The journey continues. We're watching them all. We're talking about them all.
Well, not at once. We're just going to talk about one today.
Yeah, so...
Okay.
Yeah.
Just to make that clear.
It's a long journey.
It is. I mean, it's probably going to last us the rest of our fucking lives.
The rest of our lives, or till the collapse of Netflix, whichever comes first.
Oh, Netflix is definitely going to outlive us.
I don't know. There's a lot of competition out there.
I, for one, welcome our new streaming overlords. But
well, we're glad to be back. We missed you last week. We skipped a week because we had unforeseen medical situations to attend to. But we're back. Everyone's
Steven was
feeling
shitting
healthy.
his pants.
I had both ends burning, if you catch my drift.
Oh, you were burning the candle at both ends.
Uh-huh.
Did you feel like a character in Baskin?
I hadn't seen Baskin yet when that happened.
Okay.
So.
Well, yeah, that's the movie we're doing today. It's Baskin. Is that the correct pronunciation? Did we ever figure
No
that
one
out?
knows.
I assume it's Baskin, like Baskin Robbins. Not enough ice cream in this movie.
Not enough.
Not any at all.
I'm
in
surprised that Baskin Robbins even financed this movie, to be honest.
Actually, I was...
It seems very off-brand.
I was fairly derelict in my regular research duties that I sort of do. Does anybody know what Baskin means?
Yeah, so it means a couple of things. Well, I might be wrong. So one meaning is like a descent, like a slow descent. Another is a raid.
Like a police raid.
Yeah.
So it's kind of an apt title because it's like to strike down or something. So it's like... It can be used in the context of the police or in the context of just going down, and we have police in this movie who descend into madness.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what's odd is that this is a subtitled movie. It's a Turkish film, but the title isn't subtitled, as it normally would be in a foreign film.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, you would have to Google it and look it up if you didn't speak Turkish?
Yeah.
Well, it probably doesn't really translate well, you know? It's like...
They could have come up with something, I mean...
I'm glad, though, that we actually have to do the little bit of footwork that I didn't do to find out that there's sort of an interesting and appropriate double meaning for this one, though.
It's not so much a double meaning. I think Chris is right. It doesn't translate well. It's like, it's just really... Like, there's not an equivalent in our language for what that means.
But, I mean, both the terms that you just described apply in some way to the movie.
They do.
Well, yeah, but they would lose the double entendre.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, is it's kind of cool that we like have to figure that out instead of using some other English word that doesn't have the same double meaning.
Well, and it sets you up for a movie that also requires a lot of work to figure things out. This is very much a puzzle movie. It's like the Inception of horror in many ways.
Sure, okay. What?
No, that's true, though. There are sort of like nested... I guess I'm ripping this off from a review I read.
I read the same review.
It was described as like nested storylines, and there actually are. There are kind of little pieces of the story that are tucked inside of each other.
Maybe Chris saw a different movie. I don't know.
I don't know. I guess so.
Chris just went to Baskin Robbins and tried all 31 flavors.
Well, we can say it maybe had some nested storylines, but let's not compare it to Inception.
A great work of cinema.
You know, as flawed as Inception is, it is a lot more cohesive than this movie, and you can understand how all the storylines tie into each other in that movie. Baskin, kind of all over the place.
We should basically give the basic setup. So we're following a rookie on a squad of police officers in Turkey. They're kind of out getting fucked up, and they get a distress call. They wind up kind of off track. They encounter some strange stuff on the way, and they wind up in the woods. They encounter a strange sort of cult, and then they end up in an abandoned police precinct that's been around since the Ottoman Empire, apparently, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense given the architecture of this building. And they find trouble inside.
Yep, trouble with a capital T.
And that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool.
I was going to say rhymes with B that stands for bass.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, lots of horrors await. That's really what it is. So it's weird because the first half hour, 45 minutes is kind of a slow
Tarantino
burn.
shit. It's just a hangout movie.
It's a hangout movie. It's kind of like Goodfellas reminiscent, not just because they steal the "How am I funny" scene right out of Goodfellas.
Yeah.
I don't know if the director ever saw Goodfellas. I don't know if that made it to Turkey.
There's some really creepy shit in it, though. Like, it definitely sets a mood of unease for the first half hour. I mean, there is a lot of just the police officers sitting around and talking to each other and kind of building character to a degree. But there's some creepy shit.
Very early on, we've got a cloaked figure carrying a kind of a rusty pail with meat in it.
Yeah,
into
bucket
the
of
building
entrails
behind them. Yeah.
Oh my god! There's even just a scene of meat being sliced up in the restaurant that the officers are eating in early in the movie, and that alone was horrifying. I mean, I eat meat. I was a vegetarian for 10, 15 years of my life, and that scene alone almost made me want to go back to being vegetarian.
Sure, the sound design in this movie is great,
so
especially
gross.
in that scene. You know, you feel like your ear is pressed right up to that cut of meat as it's being sliced.
Yeah.
It's very ominous, and it seems like there's some kind of witchcraft going on, like just on the periphery of the events on the screen, and you can't really get your finger on it, and then one of the cops gets sick, and it seems like he's cursed or something. I'm not sure any of that really amounts to anything, though, because they basically just get in the van, go to this asylum, and torture unfolds.
Sure, I'm with you. I don't think it really adds up to much. We've neglected the very beginning of the movie, though, which I think is kind of a key to understanding what's going on. If it's worth doing so, we'll get to that when we get to our reviews. But we begin with the scene of a child's bedroom, and I'm immediately hooked when I see like He-Man-esque action figures in a movie. It opens up, it's very kind of like Salem's Lot. This kid's got this very he's like a horror fan and likes kind of weird, creepy shit, and he wakes up to the sound of what could only be his parents fucking, and it disturbs him.
Or his mom fucking.
His mom fucking.
Might be a single mom.
Might be a single mom.
Or his dad fucking. It could be a single dad.
It sounds like a mom, though.
It could be his babysitter fucking. His parents might have gone.
But what if the single dad is fucking a woman?
Someone's on Tinder, and
who's to say if the woman who we hear having sex is his biological mother?
Well, he does yell "mama."
Oh, well, that's a clue.
Very relevant discussion topic here.
Anyway, things take a dark turn from there, and this appears to be kind of a nightmare that he's having. Like the shadowy figure comes out of the hallway, right, and we see this hand reach toward the camera. This very it reminded me of like Creepshow, like with like the comic book lighting and everything, with like the.
Yeah.
The old
there's
Amicus
so much
movies.
Primary colors, especially in the beginning of this movie. There's so much just red, yellow, and blue everywhere.
Oh yeah, it's like a mix of like Lucio Fulci. I can never say that ever. And like early John Carpenter. There's like a lot of like Assault on Precinct 13 going on here, and like Escape from New York.
There's so much Carpenter in the score,
and the score too is very synthy.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say reminiscent of maybe they ripped off our theme. I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, you were describing the opening scene, though.
Well, that's it. It's kind of a kid's nightmare. We're not sure if this is real. This is a nightmare, but creepy shit is going on. It's a traumatic moment. Then we cut to these tracking shot of the outside of this kind of roadside diner, and the policemen sitting around talking about fucking. Really, is all they're doing.
There's a lot of talking about fucking.
Fucking elephants, fucking chickens. Fucking
transvestite.
Yeah.
And none of it seemingly has anything to do with the opening scene, other than that there was fucking in both places. And so maybe
it does. We've been curious about the political implications of this film since it's Turkish, and Steve said he did some research. Did you learn anything that would inform us as to why there's so much discussion of
I've learned that we are overthinking it, essentially.
Okay. All right.
Well, because that's one of the problems when you're watching a film from another country, especially a country like Turkey, where us as ignorant Americans are kind of insulated from the culture and the politics over there. So it's like for me, this movie seemed throughout very arbitrary. And, I was telling Patrick, like, one of my favorite torture porn movies is Saw 6. Saw 6 is kind of an allegory about the U.S. healthcare system, and it's, very blunt about that. But if you're watching it in Turkey, it might just seem like arbitrary bullshit because they don't know what our healthcare system and the political conversation about it is. So I'm watching this and I'm like, I don't know, maybe this is about the current political situation in Turkey. Maybe this is a metaphor for the Armenian genocide. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah, and I think we have a tendency to want to look for deeper meaning in a film like this because, one, it's foreign. We don't really know. I'm not familiar with what's going on in Turkey, like you said. And also, it's very artistic looking. It appears to be very thoughtfully put together, and I just assumed that because it's a foreign film that there's something I wasn't grasping. I don't think there is, honestly. I think this movie really falls apart after the first act. I was very intrigued by the sort of machismo and sort of the pissing contest between the police officers, and I kind of wanted to see something bad happen to them or see them get into a hairy situation. We do, and as soon as we do that, there really wasn't any reason for me to care to continue watching.
No, like if you don't remember who the characters were and how they behaved in the first scene in the restaurant, there's really no more character after that.
Like, I mean, they were mostly indistinguishable from each other.
Yeah.
Which is definitely a problem I've noticed time and time again. I think back to The Ritual, where we've basically just got, 5 really unlikable people here. One of them is significantly younger and more attractive than the others, and that sets him apart. Another is ill.
Another is significantly older than the others.
Yes,
and those are the two who actually have some character.
The chief and the rookie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest are just, fodder for whatever the hell is in this asylum. And it's just torture porn. I mean, I don't really know if, without getting too heavy into spoilers, that's what people need to know if they see this movie. It's a bunch of cops, they go to an asylum, it's torture porn.
It is. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't think there was anything more to it than that. And I want to discuss that element of it further. But before that, you mentioned to me, Chris, as when I called in sick for the podcast last week, that you were jamming to the song they were playing in the van in this movie.
Oh,
they get the distress call, and
it goes on for so long.
I loved it. And actually, the lyrics, I should pull up the lyrics to that song.
They were singing along with it, right?
They were singing along, and I think the lyrics were actually very kind of poignant, and like it seemed like kind of bad guys having a good time, but like the song they were singing was really morose and disturbing. It's like this light pop song, but it was
like a ballad of some sort.
Yeah.
So again, that's another thing where there's probably a cultural gap in how we watch it versus a Turkish audience. I don't know, maybe that's like a song that they know in Turkey, or maybe not.
I have no idea. It might have been a song that was written for this film. I mean, I don't remember it super well, but I do remember, like, after a while, like, reading, because you were reading the lyrics on screen thinking, oh, fuck, this is disturbing. This is not the peppy, this is not the kind of song you want to, like, use to pregame for the night.
Right. Yeah, now, I mean, so I just said that the movie's mostly torture porn, but there are some semi-interesting trappings added to it later on in the movie, some mysticism stuff. It doesn't really seem to amount to anything or pay off in a way that I appreciate.
It really isn't mostly torture porn, though. The last half hour is some gruesome shit.
Well, it's an hour and a half movie. The first half hour we've said is good, where they're in a restaurant, talking shit, character development, that's all good. Then the second half hour is them walking around in the dark and occasionally getting fucked up by random stuff, and then you see a bunch of blood here and there. And then the third half hour is just complete torture porn.
Yeah. I think really, I think that's pretty close. Like, after the half hour mark, they start getting fucked up. And then it just escalates from there until it's over.
So that is 2/3 of the movie. There's a midsection where it's like generic haunted house kind of shit. Where it's like, oh God, where'd you guys go? Oh no, what's wrong? Oh, what's this? Who killed this person?
And that's pretty brief. And even in there, we've got, flashlights shining on rooms of just naked people wearing masks, fucking covered in blood. I just knew immediately, as soon as I saw that, I was like, I don't think I'm going to be down for this movie. I'll be honest, it takes a lot to shock me and disturb me. this movie has a kind of a dream logic to it. Reminded me a lot of Mulholland Drive at times. Not nearly as skillfully done, but there is one scene in particular that is very Mulholland Drive, where it's kind of a flashback, because there's a lot of kind of jumping around in time going on in this movie. Not clear why that's happening, except I think part of the key is probably the dream that we see in the beginning of the film. But anyway, I'm getting off track. I'm in my own sort of time loop here. Once we get into the precinct and we start seeing the fucked up shit happening, the dream logic, the just kind of what kind of movie is this? It's very stylish. It really did kind of hypnotize me, and it made me even more sensitive to the violence and the weird sex and the gore. And if I did not have to watch this movie for this podcast, I would have turned it off and probably still had bad dreams from what little I saw.
Well, that sounds like an endorsement. Like, I'm glad you had that experience.
I wish I could endorse this movie, but it has so few redeeming qualities. I wish that it had continued on that very intriguing path that it's of the first act.
So I need to speak up because I disagree strongly with all this. I was intrigued throughout. I mean, I agree that it is arbitrary in a way, the way it proceeds. But I was willing to just kind of surrender to that dream logic kind of thing. I mean, I'm glad you brought up Mulholland Drive because it did remind me of David Lynch in a way, who I like a lot. And if the atmosphere is interesting and visually compelling enough for me, then I can surrender to that dream logic. This movie is couched in this weird dream logic where it feels surreal, and it seems like it's intended to feel surreal. And I felt...
Absolutely.
And
I won't argue that.
I surrendered to that and totally embraced that and enjoyed it a lot.
Okay, so ultimately they get taken by this death cult, and it's led by this guy named Baba, who's played by this guy named Mehmet, and I'm not going to try to pronounce his last name. And this guy, it's like they made the whole movie around this guy. They said, we got a weird-looking guy, let's make a horror movie. This guy, I saw a review that said it said he's genetically unconventional, and that's a good way to put it. I really don't know how to describe this guy's condition. I guess he has a skin condition, very interesting head and body. And he was a non-actor, apparently. He was working in a parking garage. He had to go to the mayor's office in the city they were living in and petition for a job because he said, no one wants to hire me because I look like this. They put him in touch with a casting guy, and the rest is history. And so he and his cult just kind of run the show for the last half hour of this movie.
So I have two things to say about this actor. One, I'm sad that he couldn't get a job because he is strange looking, but he's not horrifying. I mean, if I ran into him in real life, I wouldn't be repulsed. I'm sad that he couldn't get a job. Two, he's fucking great in this. I mean, for a guy who didn't have a ton of acting experience, he is really creepy and has great presence on screen.
He's magnetic, yeah. When he's on screen, like,
he's fascinating.
I mean, for his, especially considering his short stature, he owns the screen when he's on screen. His line delivery is, I mean, he's got some pretty ridiculous lines in this movie. I feel like they're trying to telegraph whatever sort of vague, like, pseudo mystical themes might be behind this thing. I don't think there's really much to read into there, but he delivers it with total expertise and conviction.
Totally.
And he doesn't seem like a bad guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Like, I guess
like a cult leader, he's charismatic. Yeah.
Let me clarify. He's doing horrible things, but it's kind of like Hellraiser, where the things in Hellraiser aren't there because they're evil. They're there because they're like pain is pleasure, and you open the box, so we're here to fuck you up. Isn't that what you wanted?
He's like Thanos.
Right, sure. So Mehmet or Baba here is like, he seems to like love these people he's torturing, and he's like caressing their faces and stuff, and that's a nice touch.
Oh, it's so weird and creepy.
And he's like rooting for them.
Yeah.
And
he genuinely believes that he's setting them on the right path.
And who am I to say he's not? Because I don't know what this movie's about.
His followers seem happy. The thing for me is, like, I don't really understand.
I don't think his followers seem happy. They're all like crawling on the floor, writhing, wearing rags with like
they could leave.
No eyes.
They could leave.
What was one of you sent me a thing that said this was like George Romero directed
me.
Yeah, what was that?
It was like cross between Mad Max and Rocky Horror.
Oh yeah, because he has this assistant who looks like Riff Raff, except half of his face is covered up. It looks like, I mean, this movie reminded me a lot of Mad Max Fury Road, just in terms of art design.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fascinating. It's really creepy and weird and nicely designed.
Everything smart we're saying
Imaginative
today,
all around.
Everything smart we say today is from another review.
Yeah, we have been citing a lot of other reviews today, which actually is a great segue to a YouTube comment, I think, that we wanted to...
Yeah, I mean, look this guy up if you don't watch the movie. He is fascinating. I really, like, while I was watching this, especially in certain lighting, I was trying to figure out, like, are these prosthetics or not? Like, is that his real face, his real head? I mean, the first time you see him, you see the back of his head, which is very oddly shaped and kind of almost like heart-shaped. He's got, like, a bit of, like, a rivet in the top of the back of his head, and he's caressing his head with blood from a bowl, and it's just so creepy and disturbing. But some people find Mehmet attractive.
Sure.
So I was watching, or listening to rather, on YouTube, an hour-long interview with the director and
Have we
Mehmet.
specified, by the way, Mehmet is the actor's name?
Mehmet is the actor's name. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but I'm just pronouncing it phonetically. So I rarely read the comments on YouTube, but I was curious about this site called Without Your Head that does pretty interesting horror interviews. I'm definitely going to check out more of their stuff, and I was like, I want to see how many views this has. Not many, about 1,800, and then I thought I'd look at the comments, see what the community's like. There's two. The first one, not all that interesting, just fantastic interview, needs more views. I agree with that. And then Linda G chimes in 6 months ago. Linda. So here's what she said. No one mentions Mehmet's body. He may be short, but he's built like Bruce Lee. I can't believe that this has gone unnoticed. Since he is playing the ultimate evil
incarnation... I agree
incarnation...
with this so far.
I do too. Since he is playing the ultimate evil incarnation, he needs to have a body that evokes lust, and Mehmet's body is every bit deserving of that lust.
Wait, hold on. Just one moment. So this woman associates the ultimate incarnation of evil with lust. She wants to lust after the ultimate incarnation of evil.
I think she's just rationalizing her lust. But my body evokes lust. How come people don't talk about that?
How come people don't think of you as the ultimate incarnation of evil?
They do.
Proceed.
Keep going.
We need to process this like one sentence at a time.
We do. It's a lot. I've read this 3 times, and I'm still like, Linda G, who are you? I looked her up. We'll get into that in a second.
There's probably a lot of Linda G's out there.
It's kind of funny. No, I mean, I looked at her YouTube account to see what else she's posted.
Let's get her on this show.
We should, because I didn't learn anything about her except that she doesn't like Trump.
Perfect.
She'll fit right in with us.
The fourth chair.
So, continuing with Linda here. You say he has a skin condition, but is it the disease that causes his body to be so perfect?
Ooh.
That's a lot right there, too.
That is.
Yeah, it's like, because his body is so perfect that, like, it contains so much beauty that he couldn't... If he had a normal face, he would be a god. It's like what I'm reading into this. It's like we have like humans have a finite capacity for beauty, and his is all concentrated below his head. I'm speaking on Linda's behalf. Hopefully she can come on and we can gain some more insight.
Maybe she can clarify. We have questions for you, Linda G.
We're going to take a hard turn left here, though. And yes, I do realize that he's not tall. His face is so unique. I even like his voice. He was absolutely perfect for this role! ! I only found this movie a week ago, and I've had to watch it twice, only because of Mehmet and the frogs. Mehmet is beautiful! 2 exclamation points.
I'm just imagining her, and we haven't talked about the frogs, but there's a recurring thing where frogs show up. There's like swarms of frogs. It's like Turkish magnolia.
Oh God!
Yeah.
And there's less torture in this movie than it is to watch Magnolia.
I was singing "Save Me" throughout this whole movie.
Oh man, so many good Magnolia jokes. But I'm just imagining Linda G watching the frogs as kind of like, because I mean the frog shit is mostly before Mehmet shows up. I'm just imagining her watching, like skipping through this movie, watching the frog scenes, just kind of like warming up for Mehmet, you know?
Oh God, that's her foreplay. And the frogs. I don't really understand the frogs, but this is a dream. This whole movie is a series of dreams within dreams within dreams, and I kind of like the frog stuff because it is like another sort of. It is another sort of like. It starts to feel like a clue to something. The first time we see one,
it's in a soap dish.
In a soap dish, not the rookie, but another cop has gotten fucked up. He's drank too much.
Is that Yavuz? Is that his name?
He's the one who we thought was
the driver
or something. Yeah, and he goes off into the bathroom.
He goes to the bathroom to puke, much like both you and I did over the last week or so.
Yep.
And there's a frog in the dish, and we don't know what it means, but it's strange. It's out of place, and this movie is setting us up to sort of pay attention to these odd details.
Honestly, if like I just got back from the Philippines, if I went to the bathroom and there was a frog in the soap dish, I'd be like, okay, there's a frog in the soap dish.
Yeah, you would pick the frog up and just kind of lather your hands up with it.
Yeah, probably. But like it's. I don't know. I don't know what Turkey's like, if frogs are a common
I was wondering, is I don't know what the symbolism
like
means.
A roadside bathroom that opens up to the outside.
I'd expect a frog in the soap dish.
I would expect a frog or a giant cockroach in every bathroom.
But here, it's clearly set up to be very ominous, and then eventually we've got scads of frogs. Just scads.
Scads. We've got eggs filled with blood. There's so many.
Oh Jesus! I forgot about that. That is
surreal, creepy visuals in this.
One character vomits when he sees that, and I was so hoping that one of them would, because that honestly might have been one of the most disgusting images I've ever seen in a film.
Maybe that was what made you sick last week.
Yeah, tons of frogs, tons of gross shit. It's a gross movie, but the most important thing we need to know is, Patrick, would you cue it, view it, or screw it?
I would say view it.
View it!
View it!
Tell us more.
I mean, as I've said already, I understand the complaints about the plot being certainly unconventional, but I was definitely on its dream logic sort of level. It was really interesting visually, decent performances. Mehmet was, of course, transfixing in his own special way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really into it. I mean, it's kind of a thing, one of those things where, like, if you've listened to the podcast this long, you've heard all this shit, you're still thinking about it, definitely check it out. Steven, would you cue it, screw it, or view it?
I would give this my highest cue it. I think this is a film of... don't act surprised. I think this is a film of high technical quality. It really did pull me in. I felt the dreamlike quality of it. And once it veers into the torture porn category, I still was kind of transfixed. I was horrified, but it affected me deeply, and I couldn't stop looking at it. I think Mehmet is... I don't know what else he could do aside from this role, honestly.
I love that we call him Mehmet now. Like, we know him. He's our bro.
My buddy Mehmet. Really just captivating performance. I like the production design. I like the lighting. I like the soundtrack. Everything is great. I like the sort of kind of MacGuffin beginning of it, where we've just got the cops talking about, fucking sheep and chicken and whatever else. It's very death proof. There's a lot going for it. I hate that it takes a left turn into just the banality of torture, but
where would you want it to go? I guess is because to me, I love that hard twist, the hard left from sort of banal shit into just absolute visceral horror. I
want to like that, but I don't really feel any one way or other about these characters enough to see them be tortured in that way. Like, I don't feel like they deserve it. I don't know why they deserve that. That's my problem.
But you did relate to those characters. You got the character building kind of shit.
I like the camaraderie. They seemed like kind of salty, dirt bags, but like I didn't think they deserved to be tortured to that extent, and I did not enjoy seeing them endure that.
No, I agree actually, but yeah, I agree.
I think it was well done, very well directed, but I wish that there was more of a brain behind this movie, at least as far as the script goes. It seems like, at least from what I've heard, a lot of it was pretty heavily improvised. It was like, we know that we have these cops and they're going to get tortured. And I feel like some more work should have been done on the script.
It's mumblecore.
Dude, we need like a sound cue for mumblecore. You say the word mumblecore at least once an episode.
Mehmet is world's greatest mumblecore actor.
We could use the Kill List theme, but what's a good mumblecore movie? Like, what do we think of when we think of mumblecore? Like a fucking...
I don't know. I want to know what Chris even thinks of when he thinks of mumblecore.
That's a good question.
Have you seen a mumblecore movie?
Probably not, but I mean, isn't like Francis Ha the
I knew you were going to say that. Yeah, let's cue the Francis Ha theme.
That's not mumblecore.
Is it not?
That's definitely a very scripted movie.
It is.
Oh.
That's not mumblecore
well,
at all.
Fuck you guys.
It does star Greta Gerwig, who has done a lot of mumblecore movies, but
what?
It's not a mumblecore movie itself.
Like what? What's a Greta Gerwig mumblecore movie?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, listeners, pull up IMDb, look up early Greta Gerwig, and let us know.
I mean, here's the thing, though.
Watch House of the Devil. Greta Gerwig's in that. It's one of my favorite horror movies.
Wait, I did not realize she was in that.
Minor part.
Okay. Well, she gets killed really early on, right?
Yeah, abruptly. That's a spoiler.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. It came out like 5 years ago. Who cares? Chris, would you view it, cue it, or screw it?
I would screw it. I'm really jealous that you guys had went on a journey with this movie. I wish I had, but it had production values were fine. I liked the stuff at the beginning. The torture porn didn't do anything for me. I was so bored through 2/3 of this movie. I think the reason why there was a question about like whether the veer in a torture porn works or not, and it's just, for me, the beginning was interesting enough and enough of a slow boil that I kind of wanted all that shit to pay off. I wanted to understand the frogs. I wanted to understand the mysticism. I wanted to understand what was going on with these individual characters. And then it's just, oh, well, here's a bunch of torture. And none of that stuff paid off. And that was frustrating for me. I thought the last 2/3 of this movie were so much less interesting than the first half hour of this movie that it was just a chore to get through. So fuck it. Screw it.
I mean, I will say I understand where you guys are coming from, because it does... Because it has those long dialogue-y stretches, you feel like you're getting into something that's more character heavy, because it spends so much time trying to get you introduced to these characters.
Yeah, or even themes and stuff. Yeah.
Greta Gerwig was in Baghead, which seems to be pretty much the only mumblecore movie she was in, so fuck me for saying that. So
cue the Baghead theme. Yeah. We're going to go to the spoiler room and spoil nothing, because we've described this whole movie, but I think we're going to dig a little deeper into some of the more explicit aspects of this film.
Yeah, and we're going to spoil the very end, which threw me for a fucking loop.
Yeah, there's some twists. We'll get into it.
Loop indeed.
All right, so go watch it if you want to see that shit, or if you just want to listen to us talk about it, stay tuned. We're going to the spoiler room in a few seconds. See you there. All right, welcome back. We're in the spoiler room. Delving deep, we're going downward, strike into Baskin. We're striking to the heart of Baskin.
And it's chilly down here as always.
And Mehmet's here.
Hey, Mehmet.
He's stroking my face. He's not saying much, but it feels good.
Are there blood in his hands?
I wish he would wipe that blood off his hands.
Yeah. Of course there's blood in his hands. It's my blood. I gave him my blood just before we started recording.
Did he gouge your eyes out, is my question.
Why do you think I've been wearing this blindfold the whole fucking show?
Oh, fuck. Why didn't I put that together? Oh, no. So stupid. So stupid.
So there's your first
great
spoiler.
Improv, guys.
This movie is great, disgusting. Yes, I mean, we talked about the eggs with the blood, but it gets worse than that. I mean, there's some like weird fucking going on. Someone is forced to fuck a woman wearing like a...
All right, yes. We'll talk about the woman fucking, and then let's just go around and describe. It'll be like a draft. We'll just pick the torture we remember.
Well, that wasn't the most disturbing thing to me, so if somebody else was bothered by that, they should go for it.
What was fucked up to you?
Well, at some point, this kind of concubine... who we've seen throughout these not final scenes, but the last like third of the movie, gives birth to a fetus-shaped rock.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And I mean, this is after I've already been just pummeled with disgusting imagery, and that really set me over the edge. That was a moment where I actually think I kind of flew back on my chair. Like, I couldn't believe this movie could get more disturbing.
Maybe that's what the guy was watching in the fucking Memorex commercial. Never mind.
That was actually a fun fact. That is the singer of Bauhaus, Peter Murphy.
Amazing.
And that it's that Maxwell ad. I think it's Maxwell.
Yeah. So yeah, we got that. I remember there was like they disembowel a guy and just like pull his intestines out, don't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
he's been sewn shut from an injury that I don't think we ever see on screen.
Of course not. Why would we see it on screen?
And then
why would we know why he's sewn shut?
And then Mehmet slowly rips that incision open and pulls the intestines out. I forgot about that. That was intense.
What else is there?
Well, I mean, the reason the woman gives birth to the fetus-shaped stone is that one of the policemen is forced to have sex with her. And I mean,
does he enjoy it?
No.
No.
Are you shitting me?
There are
No,
a couple of moments.
his face is
There are a couple of
horrifying.
moments where I'm like, but you've got a hard on.
I mean, yeah. The question is, why does he have an erection in the first place?
Yeah.
But
He found his fetish.
He looks. He
This
looks
movie is
traumatized.
this
throughout
movie's
the
like
scene.
Phantom Thread. It's like a slow burn, and it's all about a guy finding
Spoilers.
his fetish.
Oh man, that was a weird comparison, but yes,
And I haven't seen Phantom Thread, so fuck you.
Oh.
just the appearance of that woman in the first place is really weird. I mean, she's just let out on all fours. What's she wearing? There's
It's a grand introduction.
a weird
too.
thing over her
She's
face.
got like a potato
a
sack
hood
over
or
her head.
something. Yeah, that whole thing is very weird. I mean, obviously the eye gouging is.
Yeah, this is the same guy who gets his eyes stabbed out.
Oh yeah, after he gets his eyes stabbed out, he has to fuck the woman. That's
So
right.
he doesn't even know what he's fucking. And like,
But we've established that he's fucked. I don't know which creature he fucked, but in that early conversation they were having at the restaurant.
Oh, the chicken or
They're
something.
talking about chickens.
I think
and
this is the guy who had
elephants
sex with the transvestite.
Okay.
So it seems like there's a through line here with that,
Yeah.
and with the sex that was being heard in the mom's room, but I can't.
Well,
figure
the
out what it
director
means.
did say that. Hold on, give me a second while I pull up a quote.
He's got notes. He's like Bill Maher. He's got all his note cards all over the table.
Got any new rules for us, Steven?
Oh God.
Well, so this is a male-dominated movie. There are only a few females, and the director has said that. And he actually gave a really non-committal statement about it, which bothers me. That he says, "Well, this might be about sort of a male-dominated society and the way that men behave when they think that women don't matter." And but there's so little else in this movie outside of these torture porn scenes that I don't really buy that. I think that's like an answer he had to cook up when people started grilling him about what this movie's about. I don't he's a guy who likes Iron Maiden and like hardcore horror movies. That's it.
He sounds like a fun guy. I want to hang out with him.
He sounds like a fun guy, but I think that he just wanted to make a movie. His mom financed it.
Really?
He says he's not rich, but this movie clearly cost at least $250,000. And yeah, I don't know. I think he sounds like kind of a charming douchebag. There's not enough in this movie to make me think that he really has any handle on delivering a script that would satisfy any of us, at least. I think he's got the visual style.
I mean, I was satisfied.
Sure. But I mean, this is coming from the brain of a guy who he literally says in this interview, 2 interviews I listened to with him, that he grew up buying albums because of the cover artwork, not knowing what was inside. This movie is looks good on the outside. If you try to go deeper than that, you're gonna have problems.
Yeah. Chris, what was your continuing the NFL draft though? What horrified you in this final stretch?
Man, I don't even know if I was horrified. I mean, certainly,
you weren't.
Certainly, the forced sex scene was pretty gnarly, just because it went on for a long time, and it was just fucked up. I mean, I don't think I've seen anything like that really in a movie before.
Well, you haven't seen Irreversible.
No, I haven't.
Oh, good for you.
And then the eye gouging was pretty rough. It reminded me of Mission Impossible 2 when the guy's got his knife a centimeter from Tom Cruise's eye.
The eye gouging is intense, especially because, I mean, in the end, it's kind of the classic. You don't really see that. I mean, I guess you do see. You don't see a knife plunge into an eye, even a fake eye, though. It's all about the tension. It's just unbearable.
But then you
how
see
long...
his thumbs going into the sockets afterward, I'm pretty sure.
I guess.
They don't show the actual moment, but afterward, he gets his digs in.
But to me, the real cringe was just like how long that knife, like Baba just dances that knife around those guys' eyes for so long. It's like, oh God,
well,
just stop and
scene.
stab
it's
him
like
already.
Or Salo, however it's pronounced. You know, it's like he's sort of like the, you know, he's the master torturer in the scene, and like, you know what's going to happen. And the real horror is just like imagining what he's going to do.
Yeah.
And then this movie goes way too far in showing what he does in certain instances.
Like what, though? Because I don't...
Like the stomach scene?
Oh, well, yeah, that's very over the top.
The eye gouging, you don't see the actual eyes getting gouged, but then you see him like shoving his thumbs into the eye sockets afterwards. Like it's just
I don't remember that,
it's
though.
so excessive and over the top. And it doesn't need to be. It's terrifying enough, but then again, I fall back on, why is this happening? Why do I care that these characters are being treated this way? I didn't. They didn't do anything like horribly offensive beyond being just sort of basic bros in the beginning of the film. I mean, I don't think they deserve this kind of hell.
Most of them aren't good people, and they're bullying the civilians who are working in the restaurant to a degree that's kind of disturbing.
It's like a mafia aspect to it, where the sort of the cops, you know, they kind of have rule over it.
They're kind of dirty cops, but yeah, it doesn't really connect to the torture at all, really. Well, there is the one part which is, again, almost a theme, where Baba, Mehmet, is like, you know, about to fuck a guy up, and he's screaming at him. He's like, "Don't you know we're the police, we're the law," or something like that. And Baba's just like cuts his throat.
Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
I just wish it meant something, honestly. That's my main problem with this film. I think it looks great. It definitely affected me. It kept me interested, but I didn't learn anything.
And again, it's frustrating because I feel like a lot of stuff was done deliberately, but then I can't pull a meaning out of it. And the reason that frustrates me, and we've had these discussions before, where it's like, is there something there? Is it just my inability to understand this movie? Because there are movies that do have actual messages that I can't grasp that are well done, you know? Like,
yeah, but I mean, this is
like Phantom Thread.
Like Phantom Thread.
But this is a first feature by a guy who's, I think, only directed like music videos. Like, I didn't really try too hard when I was watching it. I didn't think it was above my level of thinking. I just thought, like, he's having fun making his first movie, and I did appreciate a lot of the aspects that come with that kind of like first filmmaker mentality, just like trying out all the tricks, the tracking shots, and like the lighting tricks and all of that.
All right, well, good for him. We're in the spoiler room, so I would be remiss to not bring up the other thing I thought was kind of interesting, which is that the like old police chief and the rookie kid have some kind of connection to some sort of spiritual force, and they share it, and they can like go to another realm, and there's like, it seems
there's a shining aspect to this for sure.
Yeah, and it seems like while they're both in the torture den, they can also be present in like a alternate reality version of the restaurant.
Yeah.
And they're talking about that, and they're talking about kind of their connection to the underworld or the
I don't think
afterlife.
those are chronologically simultaneous.
Well, I think the diner stuff is kind of in that timeless space. Like, I don't really know, because it's just them, and the rest of the place is gone, and they float. I don't know. It's not
surreal dream logic shit. I mean, it's not. It's not as
like
though,
that's why I think of Mulholland Drive, because it reminded me of the diner scene, like the classic nightmare scene in that.
Or Inception, I think, is a fair comparison, because it's similar, where there's just like these kind of like nested little Russian doll realities.
But unlike
in this
Inception,
movie,
it's not clearly laid out in this film, and I think that trick
which I like, because I got so fucking sick of Inception explaining everything.
Oh, I did too, and I think this film actually like could have used a little more exposition to explain that, just a tiny bit, because I didn't really know where I was as this thing was going on.
So, and like I said, it's so frustrating, because you have these two characters who have a thing, a little metaphysical thing, a little shining between them, and they seem to know something that no one else does, and they're in this dark place where there's torture. Doesn't really amount to anything. Like, everyone still gets tortured, and that's that. But then the rookie ultimately escapes, right? How does he escape? Do we remember?
No.
He actually smashes Mehmet's head.
Whoa, with a key. He finds a key. Mehmet has a keyhole tattoo.
We need to back up.
He gets a key in this like diner realm from the chief.
Oh my god, I love this movie so much more now that I remembered that.
All right, well, you're already a view it, so
Holy fuck!
There's no higher than that.
So he gives him a key in the dream diner, and then he's like in the torture realm with the key. And our friend Mehmet has a key tattooed on his head, a keyhole,
yeah.
And so he puts the key in the keyhole,
Stabs it
in there, and then it has a brick, and he hammers the key with the brick and just explodes his head, and there's blood all over.
Beats the shit out of him.
I wasn't
bathes in the blood.
At that point, it's a bridge too far.
Yeah, that was too much for me.
And then he escapes. He leaves all the Mad Max Muppets behind.
The Mad Max Muppets.
That's your band name.
Yeah,
there you go.
And he goes off and he gets hit by the police van.
Their police van.
Right.
Which earlier they're driving the police van and they hit two people, don't they?
They hit somebody.
Just one.
Just one? Something else happened in the van. Anyway, so...
And it's mysterious. It's unknown who they've hit at that point.
They never find the body. They're like, there was a guy in the road.
And that's sort of the point where shit really gets weird originally.
Yeah, so in the beginning, they hit someone, they wind up in the pond or whatever in the police van, and they survive. At the end of this movie, they're all dead, right?
Yeah.
They hit him, and then they're all dead. So it's like he was in it, like this was like his dream from the crash.
Does it show them all dead?
No, it doesn't show them all dead. It shows the van like in the lake again, and then that's it.
Yeah, so I mean they're not. Wait, why are you saying they're all dead?
We've seen everybody die, and we don't see any. But there's a time. There's a time loop thing.
I mean, it's open to
on.
interpretation if they're like alive again or what the fuck's happening.
I don't know. It feels kind of cheap, and it feels kind of like a punchline to me.
I didn't understand it at all the first time I saw it. I was like, what the fuck? He just got hit by a car? This is a fucking stupid ending. And then I went back and went, oh, that's the police van. And it's the guy that they saw that got hit before.
So basically, he still got hit by a car. It's still stupid.
I didn't think it was stupid. It doesn't mean anything, but it was. I like the circuitous timeline.
He might as well have been hit by a random car, and it would have meant the same to me. Because otherwise, it's like, oh, he just got hit by a car. But it's like, oh, aren't we clever? Because it was actually him. But it's like,
it's like tricking you into thinking that you missed something and that you're not like smart enough to understand this movie. And really, there's nothing to understand. Like, it's like I think this movie is best taken at face value.
This isn't like even Donnie Darko does that better.
Yeah,
exactly. It is best taken at face value. We keep trying to apply some like larger themes or thesis statement to it, but. In my mind, it just worked as a weird dream logic thing.
To me, it felt like
dream logic. I'll say that for the 9,000th time.
No, that's what it is. It's dream logic, I guess.
Sure. I think that worked pretty well for like 2/3 of the movie because I did succumb to it and felt entranced by it and horrified at times. But ultimately, in the end, it felt like one of the like worst Twilight Zone episodes from the original series. Like it was just like a punchline that didn't land at all for me.
I wouldn't call it a punchline, though. It didn't feel like it was supposed to be humorous to me.
I'd not say I don't mean punchline like it was a joke, but like it felt like it was like sort of a like I don't know how to describe it.
They're presenting it as clever.
Yeah, it's like an exclamation point at the end, and that like you're supposed to sort of like think like, oh, I should go back and watch it again, see if I can understand it, and like piece the timeline together. But you can't do that. There's not enough threads there to make that possible.
I didn't see it that way.
Well, that's Baskin. A great film or not. Watch it yourself. You can decide. What are we watching next week? You want me to tell you?
Yeah, tell us.
I'm kind of afraid of what might be coming next.
We're watching Be Afraid, which I'm looking forward to. Again, I don't know what it's about, but I saw the artwork. It's like a cornfield and a silhouette, and it says Be Afraid. I'm there. If that came out at the movie theater, I would movie pass it opening night and take a picture of my stub and then check into a second movie and see it again.
I'm skeptical of any movie that would tell me how I'm supposed to feel about it, though.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, well, join us in 2 weeks. We're watching Be Afraid. But until then, keep it spooky out there. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, all that shit. Send us a letter. We'd love to hear from you. But until then, for every horror movie on Netflix, I'm Chris.
I'm Patrick.
I'm Steven.
See you next time.